Madam Chair, my problem with all these books, if you notice, that was not whether it was heterosexual or homosexual. It was the fact that it portrayed pedophilia in that book and has no room in our schools.
Touche. I simply want to clarify that in my statement in that last meeting, neither I nor my colleague, Mr. Abuismail, had no intention of anyone ever burning books. I was making an emphatic point that the books be made available to the board before removal by Spotsy County Schools.
There's a policy in place, right? All those books have a fair shot of being challenged, right? It wasn't challenged and the challenge was denied, and that's why someone came to the school board. They skipped the whole process, and that's what frustrated me with the outcome, and I wasn't able to speak about it, is not one of you said, we have a policy in place. Has this policy been followed? And no one asked that. No one questioned that of the parents, and I was shocked about that. So I totally do not think that anyone should have spent the last week doing this report. No one on this board should have voted on a book or this or that, because it's not our job to do that, especially if you hadn't read the book. So the content, I think most of us can agree, is very scary for some of us to hear excerpts, and it's not acceptable, and we can agree with that. But there's a process by which to go about challenging that. And that is what I think we have to really, really push, is how to follow policy that has been approved, has been vetted by legal. There's actions to do that. And that is what needs to be done. So I don't think there needs to be a report tonight. I'm sorry that anybody spent any time last week on that. And I think that there is this form that is very easily available, and I will give you a copy, and you guys can all fill out, because I know you've read the books now, so you can fill these out, right? And you can challenge the books yourselves, right? I don't understand why we have that policy in place. The fact that we've spent a week now, when most of us can agree that some of the content is challengeable, let's fill out the form and challenge it.
There was a landmark Supreme Court case that was decided in 1982 that was referenced tonight, the Pico case, and that was, the reason it was landmark is because it was the first Supreme Court case that ever decided that the censorship or banning of books from a public school setting, a public school library specifically, actually infringed upon the First Amendment right, freedom of speech. And there were numerous concurring opinions. That's why I always explain this is a very gray area when you're looking at specific quotes from specific books, but generally that holding was that it would be unconstitutional to ban books because of viewpoints, or you're not liking the ideas, or some of them might be raunchy, or those types of things, but that as a school division you could certainly use some legitimate characteristics such as, and I think I gave a couple of examples that come from the case, but basically things that are harmful or found to be harmful for children in the schools, that contain various sexual materials that are well defined. But the issue, I think, in this case that's important for the board to remember, that has also been brought up by those before you tonight, is that you as a school system have 4 or 5 different policies that already regulate what this case says you should be considering. So you've got various forms that already exist under IIA-F3, IIAB, IIA, KLB, KLB-F, and those actually give a remedy so that if someone, any parent, any person individually believes there is an improper book in the library that is accessible to students, for example, of an inappropriate age, like maybe they shouldn't be in middle school, even if they might be in high school, there's a process for someone in the public to bring that to the attention. And under the policy, that gets reviewed and it goes up to several levels, and that way the school board as a board is not making an individual decision of reviewing books. So That's what I warn you all about is as a board, you shouldn't be in the process of looking at individual books yourselves, but should be referring that, or parents should be using that process that you already have in place.
Dr. Baker, I am actually going to apologize to you and your staff for the way we spoke to you. We did not offer you due process. We did not offer your staff due process. It was something that I go against, and I've always believed that you praise in public and you criticize behind closed doors, and that wasn't done. And we castigated not only you in my public place, but we castigated your staff, all the librarians, all the teachers. And for that, this particular board member is ashamed. And I'm also ashamed of the fact that from our dialogue last time, several of the members, the people that spoke, they had it point on that we provided a poor example of governance. And in the future, I know I'm going to be gone, and that some people will be happy about that, that's fine. But in the future, for us to function as a school board, we're going to have to change the way we communicate with each other, whether if you're in the majority or the minority, because we're one body and we're serving not ourselves, we're serving the students that came out here and shared how they felt, whether they were for it or against it. But I apologize to you, sir. You deserve better than that. And I won't leave this dais tonight without you knowing that.
I admit that we may have made a hasty vote to remove sexually explicit materials without the appropriate discussions about what was already in our policy. And I want to say thank you, Dr. Baker, for taking time to, you just expressed that you would take a look at that policy again, just to make sure that it's what we want in our district, or at least make sure that it's meeting the needs of our students, because that's who I'm concerned about as well. And I want to make it clear that I do not advocate for any books being burned or anything that was mentioned in relation to that. I believe that all our children want to see themselves reflected in the books, and they choose the books that are interesting to them. So I want to ensure the inclusion of all students, no matter their ethnicity, race, and sexual orientation. And I also just want to remind everyone that our community, this is our community. We live here. We must continue to focus on the positive things instead of our political ideologies when it comes to making decisions for our children. I also want to thank the speakers that came forth who reminded us that our students self-select these materials, and that some of the books that are in our libraries have been requested by the students. I want us not to forget that, because our students have voice. I want you to remember two things. We just talked about one of our core values, and that is inclusivity, making sure that all our kids are included in our system, our school district. Please let us not forget this. And on another note, words do matter. We must remember what we say can harm or hurt people.
So roll call vote for removing or rescinding of the last week's motion. Ms. Grampp.
Phelps, aye.
Daniel's aye.
Mr. Twigg.
Livingston votes no.
Braswell, aye.
Abuismail, no.
Shelley, aye. Passes 5-2. The motion is set. So
Move to
I
adjourn.
have a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.